All right, let's get right into it. We are breaking down the scandal that has put K-pop superstar Psy, yeah, the king of Gangnam Style, right in the middle of a major police investigation.
So, picture this. It's December 4th, 2025, in Seoul, and suddenly police are swarming the headquarters of PSY's own agency, P Nation. We're not talking about a quiet knock on the door. This was a full-on raid, something straight out of a movie.
And let me tell you, they were not messing around. The police had a warrant and they took everything. We're talking about PSY's personal phone, all the records from the P Nation office. They even hauled away his car for a complete forensic sweep. They're digging deep into his texts, his call logs, the whole digital trail. This signals one thing. This investigation is serious.
All right, so what's this all about? Why the huge raid? Well, the entire investigation boils down to some pretty serious allegations about how he was getting certain prescription drugs.
Okay, so we're talking about what are known as psychotropic medications. Think things like Xanax and Stilnox. Now, in South Korea, the rules around these are incredibly strict. And for good reason. They have a high potential for abuse. You can't just call in a refill. The law says you have to see a doctor, in person, every single time you get a prescription. It's a big deal.
So investigators believe they've mapped out how this all went down, and it's basically a three-step process they're alleging. First, bypassing that mandatory in-person doctor visit. Second, getting the prescriptions anyway, through some other non-face-to-face method. And third, having his manager allegedly go and pick up the medication for him. If that's what happened, well, that's a clear-cut violation of South Korean law.
And this whole thing didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The police have been building this case for months. The activity they're looking at goes all the way back to 2022. But the real turning point? That came in August of 2025, when a whistleblower from inside a hospital dropped a tip. That led police to raid the hospital first, and now, a few months later in December, they've escalated to raiding P Nation itself.
Okay, to really get why this is such a huge deal, you gotta look at the two sides of PSY, right? There's the legend, the global icon, and then there's the real person behind the scenes.
I mean, it's easy to forget just how massive Gangnam Style was. Back in 2012, this wasn't just a song, it was a worldwide phenomenon. He was the first artist ever to hit 1 billion views on YouTube, 1 billion. But with that kind of insane, world-changing fame comes a level of pressure that honestly is just impossible for most of us to even comprehend. So what does his team have to say about all this? Well, back when the news first broke in August, his agency, P Nation, put out a statement. They basically said this wasn't some criminal scheme, but a careless oversight. They're adamant that he wasn't misusing or overdosing on anything, just taking regulated doses for a very real medical issue, chronic insomnia. Now, whenever a star this big gets into trouble, the public is going to have some strong opinions, and boy, did they. The reaction was fast, it was loud, and people were totally split. Pretty much overnight, the internet divided into two distinct camps. On one side, you have the critics. They're saying this is just another case of a celebrity thinking they're above the law, pure entitlement. But then, on the other side, you've got his defenders. They're pointing to the insane, high-pressure world of K-pop and saying, hey, this is a health crisis, not a crime. Cut the guy a break. But this whole situation is sparking a conversation that's much, much bigger than just Psy. It's really forcing everyone to take a hard look at the entire K-pop industry. And a bunch of other ideas and theories are bubbling up. Some people are whispering that the timing of this raid is a little convenient, maybe a political distraction. But more importantly, it's throwing a huge spotlight back on the mental health of K-pop idols and this growing concern about a pill pop culture, where stars might be using medication just to cope with burnout. And of course, people are wondering what this means for the future of P Nation. And this number really drives the point home. It shows that PSY's battle with insomnia is far from a one-off thing. Recent surveys show that something like 1 in 5 K-celebrities say they struggle with sleep issues. That's not just a few people having a bad night. That points to a massive, systemic problem right at the heart of the industry. So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Is this just about one man's mistake? A personal lapse? Or is this a flashing red light, a symptom of a much bigger, much more flawed system that pushes its biggest stars right to the edge? This whole case with PSY forces all of us to look past the glamour and really ask, what is the hidden cost of K-pop stardom?